Hattie, and I am back with another speed build. So today we're going to be doing the interior of Taylor Swift's mansion. I had a lot of fun doing this, and also I was very surprised because I would have thought that Taylor Swift would have had something a little bit more modern inside a house. But I absolutely loved it, and looking at the pictures of what she has and how it's decorated, it just looks like such a cozy family home, the inside, because it's in dark wood. She uses colours like blues and reds, which are quite dark colours anyway. So the house itself just looks very, very cozy, and I love that. The house itself just reminded me of an ordinary family home. Maybe it's a little bit bigger than the average family home, but still, the way it's decorated, I just find it to be quite discreet. I think that's the best word that I can use right now that I'm thinking of. But usually when I look at celebrity houses and the interiors, they often don't look lived in. It just looks like somebody's pointed at a magazine cover and thought, I want that in the inside of my house. And I don't know, that always feels off-putting for me. So I don't know, a lot of celebrity mansions I've looked at, because I've looked at a lot to come up with some ideas of my next big build, I just haven't got this feel from them. So if you are interested to know about my next big celebrity build, you can go and vote for it on Twitter. I think the poll is still going, but if it has ended by the time that this video has come out, there will be one next week as well. There's also some pictures of builds that I haven't done speed builds of yet, so if you do want to see what's coming up, you can go and see it on there. I have started to post a lot more on Twitter because I have been asked. I've been asked by a lot of people, why don't I post a lot of stuff on Twitter? And it's probably a good time just to give you the basics of why I don't. It's because I had a really, really bad experience twice in my life with cyberbullying. And one time I used an anonymous website called Formspring. I think it automatically gave me a profile. And I found hundreds and hundreds of messages on there of just really mean things about me. And it doesn't even bother me now because, you know, I'm doing YouTube, it's different. I get mean things every single day. You probably just don't see them. But I think that for me, I think it's just, I don't know, a social media thing, a posting thing. I always get nervous when I start to post things, as crazy as that sounds. I always have to double check things several times just in case nobody takes it the wrong way or something. But yeah, I find it so incredibly easy just to do a speed build voiceover and just talk to you like I'm talking to one of my best friends. That is honestly how, I don't know, I think that I speak on these videos, and I really enjoy doing them. It's something that I am getting used to more and more though, and it's really been the same with Facebook as well. I have my own Facebook, and my friends are always going on at me for not posting anything, and I just don't. It looks like I have a fake profile because I honestly don't put any pictures of me up. I only have one of my wedding photo and that's it, but that's partly because the wedding photographer hasn't got back to me yet. By the way, if anybody's got married recently, if you would let me know how long it takes for the average photographer to develop the photos, I would really appreciate it because, oh my goodness, it's been 3 weeks, I think. Just haven't heard anything from her. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried. But anyway, this is when I was doing the hallway. So the hallway is a really big feature of the build. I couldn't get any clear photos of it. In fact, the only rooms that I could get photos of Taylor Swift's house was the lounge, the dining room, the kitchen, and I think that was it. I think that was more or less it. I think it was a view of like a corridor or something, but I didn't really understand where that was or where it would fit in, so I didn't want to overthink that too much. But it was really, really difficult to find photos, so I did have to improvise a lot. I also had to improvise the whole layout of the house and everything with it, because I do understand that a lot of celebrities do like to be completely private. I used to watch Cribs a lot as a child, and it always used to frustrate me when I never used to see really big celebrities on there showing the houses, and I completely understand it because, I mean, it must be just such a security thing just to, you know, have things a little bit more private, especially if you're giving full floor plans away of your house and stuff. I don't know, I think for safety measures, it's definitely a good idea not to. But yeah, so I had to improvise a lot of stuff, and at this point what I was doing as well is I was thinking a lot about what I would imagine her to have in a house. I thought putting in a few music rooms, so places that she can sit down and play guitar, would be a nice idea, because on a lot of her albums I noticed that there's been a lot of emphasis drawn to the fact that she plays guitar. I don't know how good she is at playing guitar, but I'd imagine that with the amount of emphasis that's drawn towards it, I'd imagine that she's pretty talented in playing a guitar. So I thought about loads and loads of places around the house that I could put guitars and have it as a seating area, which fitted in nice with the house, especially as it's so cozy. But I would actually imagine a lot of these rooms to probably be for meetings and things, or for publicists. I think that's what you have when you're at that stage. I have no idea. But people that you just have to your house that discuss what you're going to do next. and they bring mood boards and things. And the only reason I know this is because I worked at a house where this sometimes went on. I worked as a nanny at a house, and the family were a very wealthy family, a very well-known family. And it just got to the point where I would notice that lots and lots of people would arrive at the house to have meetings about their next steps, etc. And without going into too much information, because I'm not actually sure how much I'm supposed to be sharing on here, if not anything, but I think that, for that's what I would imagine. Seeing as I have been in a house more or less the same size as this, or maybe a little bit bigger than this. I unfortunately don't keep in touch with the family anymore, and it is a shame, but the reason why I used to visit the house so much was because I worked for them as a nanny. I used to look after their child, so that is why I spent a lot of time there. But anyway, this is when I was on to the piano room. I decided on having a piano room because a piano does kill a lot of space in a house, and I just had so much space to fill. And I also put a little bathroom here. I should have probably put a storage cabinet now I'm thinking about it, but I don't remember to put those things in sometimes, and everybody makes mistakes, so I can't really help it if I do forget some things, because it's just what happens, especially when I'm focusing on a build this size. It's just not realistic for me to just focus on the really little things. But anyway, this was when I was doing the hallway. I was really making sure that I was filling up lots and lots of different parts of the house as I was going, because I wanted to decorate it all at the same time, so it really, really did match all the way through. The kitchen was a very odd room. I didn't really like it. It's quite a small room as well, but the problem with it was I was trying to follow it in exactly the same way that it is in the magazine, and I was trying to replicate it, and it was very, very difficult because I think in the magazine it was a lot bigger than this, and with the small space that I had, I just didn't feel like it was enough. I felt like it could have been a lot larger, and I could have probably done something different with it, but I don't imagine that it's this type room as well. Like, I don't think it has the octagonal part there, and I don't think that it's a rectangular type room. I think it's more of a square room, and that's just because of the way that the layout did end up. And I could have probably fitted it somewhere else, but I didn't want to. And it's difficult with no floor plan, no layout or anything. So I just went with what I had, and I used it this room. I tried to make it look as accurate as I could, but it was just very difficult. And I think that if I did have a chance, I would have dragged it out. I did actually try dragging it out, but I didn't like it. And I also find it quite unfair to drag things out, especially when I have spent part one doing the whole of the exterior to then go back to it in part two. It just feels really wrong for me, so I didn't want to do that, especially if some of you were really happy with the way that it looked. I didn't want to change anything on the outside. I was also putting a wall here because the kitchen itself does have a wall in the middle here. And I think that that is partly because the kitchen in real life is a very, very big room. So I think using half walls or walls just before there is actually a wall, or actually placing a wall in the middle of a room, is to break up the room a bit. And if it's a humongous room, if it's just too big, then I think a wall in the middle would look really good, because it would split it up, it would make it look smaller than it is, and I think that it would give the effect of making the room look quite compact. But I think with the room size, I just think the wall looked really odd there. I did actually leave it like that, but I think that it does the opposite. I think that it makes the room look a lot smaller than it is, so I wasn't very happy with it. But I did leave the kitchen the way it was, and I hope that you like it, because it's not going to be to everybody's tastes, but I will always say that in my builds, because sometimes I do things which I don't particularly like myself. This kitchen would be one of them, and I have actually had it so that I haven't mentioned things in the past, and yet it's been some people's favourite feature of certain houses, and it's been pointed out and said, wow, this is my favourite bit about the build, and that makes me happy, because sometimes these things will happen, but yeah, that's just how it is. But anyway, I was pretty much done with the kitchen at this point. I really haven't seen a kitchen like this before, only in magazines really, and that was probably the only odd thing about this house was the kitchen. The fact that the kitchen was just so strange and different to the rest of the house. And I'm pretty sure I was looking at the right house, or at least I hope I was. Because when I find these pictures, of course, and you type in Taylor Swift's mansion, it comes up with all her different houses. So sometimes it's difficult to put them all together, but I spent a lot of time doing that, so I really hope I got it right. I put in a bar room here. I just couldn't think about what else to put here. It was actually very important to me to have something that was to do with activities and skills, and I had somebody point out to me in my last video that putting DJ stands around the house is a good idea, because she's going out with Calvin Harris, I think. If I got that wrong, I'll be devastated. But I think it's Calvin Harris, so I'm not too sure, but she is going out with a famous DJ, and yeah, it goes well together. David Guetta? No. I have no idea. I can't do this. But anyway, this was when I was doing the basement. The basement floor was the part of the house which was a little bit upside down, because it has a lot of rooms in the house that probably should be upstairs, but because of the weird layout of the home, I think this makes a lot of sense. I actually do. I would imagine the house itself to be a topsy-turvy home, and it has all its main rooms downstairs. The downstairs floor was also the largest, so it gave me a lot of chance to put in the big rooms that I wanted. So the big dining room, the humongous lounge, and just other places. I decided to put in a whole party area for the house. So there's a whole part of the house which is going to be entirely dedicated to just parties. And that would be lovely if you did have a sim family here, because you could have the main house being this part and the party area is completely segregated. You could have the party area being just a completely separate place where your guests go, and I love that. I will show you some really cool features that I did put in the guest area, so you'll see that hopefully coming up in a bit. This was the trophy room in here, so I would imagine the trophy room to be a place where of course she would keep all her achievements, and I would imagine it to be quite a private place, even though she probably has it in a completely different place to that. I just thought that that would be a really good place to put all the trophies and things that she may have won in the past, because to match her house and to match the way that the layout is and the way that it looks, I just think the trophy room there would have just been something that is quite a reserved thing to have. I think that's the best way to put it and the best way to describe it. And I would imagine that maybe other celebrities are more out with it, in the sense that they can just flaunt it to absolutely everybody that comes to the house, and it's right in their face as soon as they go in. For instance, Kim and Kanye's mansion, that's why I put them all at the front, but I think for Taylor Swift's, I would put them right there downstairs. And yeah, this was the dining room in here. The dining room, I tried my best to copy as much as I could. Unfortunately, we didn't have the right chair choice, so I actually put a red chair in there too. Loads and loads of bookcases around the house. That is just to add to the dark wood collection that she has. And we don't have that many dark wood objects in The Sims 4. So using the bookcases was the closest colour that I could get. And the really, really dark version of those just looks a little bit orangey for me, so I don't want to do that. I also just zoomed out and I changed the light fixtures. Also, if you saw Taylor Swift briefly there, she's actually the version that I made. I don't think I mentioned this, but I had a lot of fun creating Taylor Swift in a Create a Sim. So if you do want me to make a video of that, I can, because I've recorded the footage. Just let me know in the comments and I can do a Create a Sim version of Taylor Swift. And this was the study. So the study was a plain room, but I think it ended up having quite a twist in here. I put a lovely mirror behind the study, and I think that made it look a lot bigger than it was. And I love the idea of using lots of mirrors in a house, because I think I've said this before, but sometimes using loads of mirrors can make a room look a lot larger than it is, and that's a great thing to have. This was my favourite room in the house. This was the lounge. I love the lounge because I think that it's just so big, and I don't know, I just think it looks so formal, and it just reminds me of a library, so I really loved that. I had a lot of fun just experimenting with different things, but in the end I got a really good balance of what I wanted. So I took a lot of these shelves out, so don't worry if you are worrying at the moment, because a lot of them don't stay in. But it was just the fact that I wanted to experiment with things, and without experimenting with things, you just won't know how things are going to look. So it's always good to try new things out, and I did. I thought for the lounge it was probably just too boxy, even though it is a very, very big room. Just wasn't sure about it. So I didn't put them in the end, and I also put a television in because a TV is always very important to me. I'd imagine that it's a way that she could probably just sit back and relax. I don't know what she would do in her free time. I can't imagine Taylor having a lot of free time, to be honest, because I'd think that she would be very busy with her next project or her next appearance and things. So I don't know, I have no idea, but I would imagine that being at the fame level that she is, it might be very, very difficult for her to have an ordinary life where a lot of people would sit back and watch television, but I just can't imagine that happening, because even a day that you do that, you just got to worry about doing something the next day, so it's best to do it the day before, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But yeah, I would hate that. I really, really would. I'd hate to get to the point where I feel uncomfortable about sitting back and relaxing and having my own time and things. And yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. This was the start of the party area. So the party area was the area that the guests walk in separately. I really, really hope that this happens in The Sims 4. I can't guarantee it because I honestly haven't checked it. I wish that I checked it now, thinking about it. But it's basically a separate area that they walk through, which is the floor below the actual house. And I love that because it is completely separate. And I just think for the parties and everything, I'd put some presents there in case it's somebody's birthday. And I would imagine that the sort of guests that she would have at these parties would be the sort of guests that would buy ginormous gifts. I've only ever been to one very, very extravagant party in my life, and it was when I was an employee. I was working with a family and it was the parents' birthday and I was looking after the child. And it was just a very, very over-the-top party. And I really loved it. It was a real eye-opener for me to see how things were and to see the guests and things. And it was like a celebrity party. It was absolutely fantastic. But it was really, really out my depth, or at least that's how I felt. I just felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. I felt like I was the employee. I felt below everybody else, and I just hated feeling like that. I just felt like that was a general feeling, and that was how, people would treat me. And I don't know, I think that even though a lot of people were very kind and very nice to me, there were some people that would look at me as if, why is she here and who is she sort of thing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And the gifts alone for this party were just incredible. I mean, I've never seen gifts like it in my life. The gifts were thousands and thousands of pounds. There was no less than that. There was no gift that was, for 100 or for less than 100. These were just very, very expensive gifts. And a lot of them were anywhere from Prada vouchers, Versace vouchers, Jimmy Choo vouchers, to jumping off helicopters and spa days, which would be very expensive, and first class tickets. And it was just insane. It was absolutely insane to see this. I don't think I'll ever be in a situation like that again, but it was just a real eye-opener for me. I did enjoy it, and it was fun. At this point, we were on to the second floor. I think it's the second floor. It's the floor where we start to do the bedrooms and things. If you can hear any background noise, that is not me. It's actually my neighbours. And I'm thinking about doing a story time about my neighbours because I've had some serious problems that I don't think that a lot of people should have to put up with. But it's basically the situation where my neighbour really dislikes my dog. I don't understand it because she has her own dog and she seems to be fairly nice with her own dog. But when it comes to mine, she absolutely hates him. And she's actually complained about me using my own garden, which is all sectioned off, and she doesn't like me in there playing with my dog, just like not even looking at her, not even doing anything, but it's my own garden. And yet she's made a full complaint about me, and every time she sees me, it's like she wants to fight with me, and I hate confrontation. If you know the first thing about me, you'll know that I absolutely hate confrontation. I hate anything to do with it. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with face-to-face arguments. I just get really, really panicked and nervous. I'm quite a nervous person anyway sometimes, so when I'm confronted with a situation that I'm supposed to feel nervous and angry in, I just go the opposite. I have ran away in the past. I don't know, I think I would. I think I would actually run away from this woman if she comes near me again, because I just can't handle this drama. If you do want me to make a story time about her and actually tell you what has gone down there, then let me know, because I'm definitely up for that. I think sharing my stories is actually better than me just like bottling them in and not telling anybody. And yeah, I think it would be a fun one. It'd be an interesting one anyway. But this was when I was doing the back rooms of the house. I did a children's bedroom, well not really a children's bedroom, maybe a teenage bedroom. I don't know if Taylor has a family from different ages. I don't really know much about her family or anything like that. But if she does have a lot of family and people that would want to stay around at her house, that's why I put in a lot of bedrooms. So there are a few, I think. Maybe there's 4 bedrooms, I think, maybe 4 or 5. I think there might be some downstairs, or at least there could be if you wanted to change it around a little bit because you've got loads of room to do that. This was Taylor's room. So instead of having split rooms, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to create something very, very unique in here, and it wasn't really going like that for me, unfortunately. I tried a lot of things out when it came to this room. I tried fitting it in with the colour schemes downstairs, but then I thought to myself, she probably wouldn't have that. I would imagine that she'd have a very girly room and maybe it would be pale pastel colours. So I actually changed it, so you'll see that. You'll see all through the processes of me changing this room about, because I was a lot happier when I did the final version of it. I thought actually it looks a lot better like this. So yeah, it was just a gradual thing, but I think when I finally found the colours that I wanted this room to be in, I felt a lot happier about the house, and I wanted to use a lot of space for the upstairs. I think that doing the other rooms, I think the other room sizes were perfect for what I wanted them for. But I think for Taylor's room, I wanted to make it very princessy. I don't even know if she would have a room like this. I don't know, because I would imagine that if you're a very conservative person, and you can use that word in lots of other ways than politically, but traditional, I think that's a better word, then maybe you wouldn't have a room this size. But I don't know, maybe the attic room would be a really nice idea, and it would be like it is in a lot of the videos. Then again, I might be getting confused with Katy Perry. I don't know. And yeah, I just imagine that it would maybe be a little bit like this, or even just for fun. If you want to choose this for your own sim family, if you weren't having Taylor Swift as a sim in this home, you could have lots of other sims living here, of course, and this could be a really cool main bedroom. You could actually use this for a castle or something. You could add some castle bits to this build because it works perfectly. The interior is perfect for that. You just have to change a few colour schemes around, but this upstairs room is very, very princessy. But anyway, just finishing it off, I wanted a 4-post bed, and I did that with curtain rails. If you're wondering how I do this, or if you want me to do a slower version of it and actually do a let's build of a 4-post bed, then let me know, because I can do that. It's just up to you what you want to see on my channel. There's also a really nice balcony above this room, and if you did want to access it, you just have to add a staircase from this room up there. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to interfere with the dynamics I had going for this room at this point. That's why I left it out. You could do so many things with it if you did want to use this build. There are actually loads of just hidden places that I just haven't mentioned on the video, and there's just loads of things for you to explore if you do download this house. Like the amount of balconies it has, there's just so many places that your Sims could sit out. You could add hot tubs too, you could add pools upstairs, you could just add loads of different things if you wanted to do that. Also the gardens, I think there's a lot more to the gardens that I mentioned in the speed build, just for the amount of effort that went into places like the secret garden, behind the secret garden, and yeah, just features that you'd probably forget or look over if you're just watching the video once, but actually looking at the build itself, there's just loads of places to explore. I would definitely use this house as a let's play house, and I think it could be very, very fun if I did. I don't know if I will. I've had a lot of requests to do a let's play with a bigger mansion, and I don't know. I'm still experimenting with my last LP, and I'm trying to get that out of the way first before I think about anything else. I think that probably I'll venture off into other games, but also still stick with The Sims, maybe do a couple more LPs, I don't know. After this point, what I did was I changed some things around, so you would have noticed that. I did do a little cutscene, and the reason was because we were never going to get anywhere. We seriously weren't. I mean, I probably had about 35 minutes of time out of the 2.5 hours just doing this room, because it does work as a completely separate floor, so I do understand why it would take that much time. I did change the 4-post beds so you could see how it would look in a different sort of style. I thought doing it this way looked a lot more cozier, and I thought the other 4-post bed just looked maybe a little bit too much for what I wanted it for, and it just looked too extravagant for what I would imagine her to have in a house. So having little curtains like that I thought looked a lot better. But that is the end of the build, so I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you all soon.